Hi there. So today we're going to try and shoot a new type of video. I haven't done this before, for a series review. So I just finished this lovely series by Marie Brennan. I started buying it when the first book came out because I saw this cover here and I was like, what is cooler than this? If you know me, you know I've did my degree in the history of science and technology. So anytime I see anatomical sketches, it's like, whew, this is something I want to do. So I didn't know anything about the books other than they were about dragons and written by a woman and had nice hard covers, so I bought them all. The first one was much different than the rest of them as far as aesthetics of the book go. I mean, obviously you have this really nice cover, which all of them do have. Under the dust jacket, the actual book itself isn't as interesting, and I'm pretty sure this font is black. So a little bit less interesting. There could be a very dark brown, which would make sense because that's the theme that we're discussing through the rest of the books. But not quite as fun. This book is a great introduction to the characters, the world, and everything else that's going to happen after this. So these books are about Lady Isabella Trent, who lives in a world called Scryland. It's very much like England in the 18th century, and Isabella is a lady naturalist. So this book starts off with her childhood, goes through to her marriage and her first expedition. Though her first expedition is something that we should use very lightly because it wasn't really hers, it was her husband's, and she was there for an assistant. As was the case with most of our lady scientists in the 19th century and before. I think I said 18th century earlier, but it's definitely 19th century. I do apologize, and I'm not going back to edit that out. So this was a really great book. I really loved it. I gave it a 5 out of 5. The writing style is really great. The world building is fantastic. This book broke my heart, but I'm really glad that it did. So that was the first book. The second book in the series is called The Tropic of Serpents. This one takes place in a more tropical location, whereas the other one took place in a less tropical location. This one, its cover is green, which is very suiting because they spend most of the book in a swamp. And inside, the font might be a little bit green, but again, it looks kind of black to me right now. So we haven't quite gotten to a lot of the fun publication things that the other books have done. Maybe it is a little bit green. I'm doting everything that I've just said. But this one was also fantastic. It's hard to do a series review without giving some spoilers. So we are going to spoil some things about the first book. So if you haven't read this book, stop watching now, because I'm going to tell some things that happen at the end of the first book. So her husband dies. It was very sad, and she's pregnant. So at the first of this book, her son is a toddler. She doesn't really want to have anything to do with him because she finds it very hard to be around him because he reminds her of her father, and she just kind of throws herself into work, gets a nanny, and then goes on an adventure to the swamp. There's a lot of politics in this book too about the people around it and the relationship between Scryland and those people. But it is a very, very cool book. I liked it a lot. So this one is just pretty straight adventuring, which is fun and good. So that was that. I bought all these as they came out too. Most of them came out around April or May, so I had just finished my term and I would go and buy them. The third book in the series was The Voyage of the Basilisk. So this one takes place at sea. She actually brings her son with her on this adventure, which I thought was really nice. This one has a purpley blue color, a deeper purple than the the next purple cover I will show you in all of my books are grease stained. And the font on the inside is blue. Cool. This one was pretty easy to read. I found that some of the next font color I'm going to show you was a little bit more difficult for me to read. I found it was harder on the eyes, but this one was really good. It was really cool seeing the interactions between her and her son. And this one, she makes a man friend. She also learns how to ride dragons, which is really cool. And there's a whole entire, the civilization that they were in, they have a two-spirited sort of thing. So she is agendered in this book, which is kind of cool, especially for people who are very much into that sort of political thing. But fantastic. Really love this book too. All of them got a 5 out of 5. This one, I think, might have been my favorite. I love books about sea voyages. I always think that's the coolest. And it was quite witty. So really enjoyed this one. The fourth book was The Labyrinth of Drakes. In the Labyrinth of Drakes. It's very cool. This one takes place in a desert. At the end of the last book, her man friend kind of like just goes off and you don't hear from him again. So you don't really know what happens. At the beginning of this book, she's like, I wish I saw him again, but hasn't happened. And the font in this one is orange, so that's cool. This one was harder on the eyes, I found. So she runs into him in the desert, and he ignores her, and it's very hurtful to her feelings. She doesn't bring her son on this adventure either. He's in school. He wanted to come, but she wouldn't let him. So she's there studying the reproduction of drakes in captivity, which neither her nor her research partner Tom particularly like. There's some animal cruelty going on, but they learned a lot of interesting things about them. And then they find some draconian ruins, which was really cool. They found some draconian ruins in all the other books too. It's an ongoing theme about this species of half-breeds, half-dragon, half-humans, so humanoid bodies, dragon heads, that existed thousands of years before these books were taking place. But very cool. This one allows her to become more of a scholar in her own right, as well as the last one, but she's getting more credibility. She also gets married in this book, so that was fun. Married for political reasons, and then she also loved him, but that was the excuse for the marriage. But very interesting book, very lovely book. Not the best book in the series, but still a 5 out of 5. So that was in the Labyrinth of Drakes. The fifth and final volume, as you can see all the 4 I pictured on the back, is Within the Sanctuary of Wings. This one is very cool. It has some mountaineering in it. Her son again stays home, but then later you find out that he's actually decided to join a research vessel. Her husband, her friend, and a couple other people go out adventuring, trying to find this dragon carcass that they have been told is frozen in a country that's not very friendly with Screw Island. And then an avalanche happens, and she is separated from them and lives among the Draconian, who are real. And then there's political stuff at the end involving that. The font in this one is purple, which matches the nice purple cover. The purple was pretty easy on the eyes. Sometimes I'd look at it and I thought it was black. It's a very common occurrence in the whole entire series, apparently, seeing as though I thought most of them were in black and none of them were. But very cool book. Reaches the climax of the series. Everything has been coming towards this book. I did find the ending quite short though, like clipped almost. There's more things that could have happened. I feel like there could have almost been another volume. But this is the height, the pinnacle of her academic career. She gets to join the philosophical colloquium, which no women were allowed into, which is a point of contention throughout the whole entire series. And it's just so lovely. I'm going to miss this series so much. I think it was just great. It's probably the best series that I have read in a long time. Best fantasy series by far that I've read in a long time. Very imaginative, very cool. Not what you expect from a fantasy series either. A lot of them are swords and dragons and fighting and that sort of things, whereas this one is very scholarly. And it's just really lovely. So if you've read these books and you like them, talk to me about them, because I would love to. And if you haven't read these books, you should, because they're great. But if you don't, that's fine too. If you like what you heard here today, you should definitely read them though, and you will love them. I promise. They get my stamp of approval. So that's all I have to say for this series review of A Memoir by Lady Trent. It's a wonderful, wonderful series. So if you liked what you saw here today, don't forget to like my video and subscribe to my channel. If you're looking for me on other places on the internet, you can find me on Instagram, Snapchat, Goodreads, Bookwitty, Tumblr, Blogger, and soon to be WordPress. I feel like I had 7 earlier, or 8 earlier, so I might be missing one. All the links are in the description box below, so feel free to hit me up, talk to me about books, whatever. Follow me on Instagram, normally I follow back. But that's all I have to say for today, so I hope you have a good one.